So recently I've been seeing a lot of people contribute their ideas to the current crisis, and they have made various suggestions as to what's the way forward. Now what is interesting about this is that it opens up a very interesting discussion in society to seriously take note of what's going on and to look at different ways in which this can be addressed. So that's the great thing. I have a slightly different perspective, and I'll come to that in a minute. Now, most of the articles I've read or the contributions they've made hinge on a couple of things. One, let the executive president remain, and he appoints interim arrangements to get out of the crisis, and at some point he leaves. Secondly, they are looking at the parliament playing a central role in this interim period. Third, we work within the existing constitution. And fourth, they are looking at what they call experts to address some of the key issues that need to be addressed. So that's what I want to give my mind to. So let's take the first point, the executive president. Now, I just cannot accept that the executive president can stay in power because he has lost the mandate of the people. That's clear. That's absolutely clear. And what people have done, as you know, in the constitution of Sri Lanka, the sovereignty of the state lies with the people. And the sovereignty means government, fundamental rights, and the franchise. Now, government is executive, parliament, and the judiciary. Now, the people have decided we have no faith in the executive. In other words, and also the parliament. They have said all 225 must get out. So they lost faith in these institutions because it's while these institutions were in place and functioning that the crisis happened. It's not like they couldn't meet because of COVID or something like that. They were fully functioning, paid by us, and they were functioning, holding office, going about with all their perks and benefits while the country was slipping and sliding into disaster. So what has happened? The people, in fact, have taken control of sovereignty. And they said, direct democracy. That's what we are saying. That's why I say this is revolutionary. This to me is what an unarmed people's revolution looks like. Anybody calling it any other name is a fraud or is trying to distract from what's going on. It's a true revolution. The people, I have not seen anything like this in my life. In 1956, there was a hartal where people came out and there they actually went and destroyed public property. They were hailed as heroes because they fought against the rice subsidy, which also put people into great misery. So that was then. I was not born. Today we are seeing a people's movement because the political parties and established institutions and organizations have failed them. So they have lost faith in the sovereignty of the people being exercised through these institutions. So they are saying we are withdrawing it. Now in Sri Lanka, there is no constitutional provision for the recall of a failed executive or the failed legislature. That's not there. You cast your ballot, your sovereignty you have handed over for the next 6 years. So there's no power of recall, and we'll come to that in a minute. So today, the president and the parliament and the executive and judiciary do not enjoy. They do not have the mandate of the people. And if we do not think of solutions that reflect the mood of the people, then we have failed also. So the mood of the people is out with you, bloody lot. Which means when they say, go home, Gota hashtag, go home, Gota, they're saying, take the executive presidency with you. And they're saying the parliament, that's why they're surrounding the parliament. Look at the discussions that are taking on in parliament today. It's a joke. It's a joke. They're talking about why a person in helmet is getting into Andhra Dissanayaka's car and all kinds of bombast, oh, the president will never leave. And I mean, is this what the sovereignty of the people is being exercised? And to think that we should look at these institutions for so-called interim arrangement is itself a joke, isn't it? So, point number one, executive president must go. That's why I'm surprised that people like Kumaraswamy and the two others who've been appointed for the debt restructuring, Indrajit Kumaraswamy, had to leave the governor's post when the current president came to power. Now he has gone back. He should have said, no, the cry of the people is, you leave. I'm not taking any positions under you. You face the music. Why is he going there now? Giving credence or credibility to the office of the executive president. This is what they come and do. And who are the other two? World Bank, IMF representatives. Now, are they really looking after the interests of the country? So, don't rush into celebrating these appointments. They failed the people who are demonstrating by taking this position because they are giving him credibility. And they're giving the office of the executive president that has lost the mandate of the people. In fact, they're stealing the sovereignty of the people. That's the point we have to consider. Anybody who takes appointments under this setup is actually acting against the constitution. But the constitution says sovereignty lies in its people and the people on the streets. So they are actually unconstitutional appointments in the strict sense of the word. We need to take note of that. IMF should also take note of that. When they start negotiating with these people, whom are you representing? Whom are you representing? Not the people on the streets. You are representing a failed executive. What right have you to come and negotiate anything on the behalf of the people of this country? Number two, Parliament. What? You expect this Parliament to come to some interim arrangement? Now, people can question me, so what? Exactly. These are revolutionary times. You have to think beyond the existing structures. So, we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out. Now, whatever it is, when all the political parties in Parliament failed, the people on the street got rid of the cabinet. They got rid of the Minister of Finance. They got rid of the second Minister of Finance. Why? Because they are feeling the pressure and they know they cannot take this on if they don't address the real demands of the people. And the protests are continuing. So, the Parliament has failed. I think sensible people should stop going to Parliament. What is the point in even Bandru Kumar Disanaka, anybody going there and giving them a chance to now come back at you with all kinds of, what purpose does it serve? So it will be very interesting if all of them say this Parliament is gone, we don't enjoy the mandate. So they will come there and sit in government and they can do whatever they want. And then you can say, let's think of alternatives. Then you will come down and start thinking about real solutions to these very, very challenging problems we face and the people of the country face. Third point, Constitution. I've heard people say, bring back the 19th Amendment. I'm shocked and horrified that intelligent people talk about this. This 19th Amendment, firstly, the Constitution was brought by J.R. Jayawardena. I remember we protested against it. He had a referendum, he used thuggery, and he succeeded in hoodwinking the people. What did J.R. say? At least he didn't lie. He introduced this Constitution. He said, the only powers I don't have is to make a man a woman and a woman a man. Now that should have said something to the people. He also said, let the robber barons come. And they bloody well came. First, multinationals and others, they supported the local robber barons. And now you see robber barons. And these robber barons are the ones who are exercising the sovereignty of the people in Parliament. Now you get it. I hope. So, this Constitution is rotten at its very core. And anybody who says we find solutions within the constitutional framework, a constitution that has failed its people, are again anti-democratic and anti-constitutional in that sense. Because they are not exercising the sovereignty of the people, which is the first paragraph in the Constitution. So you violate that, you violate the rest. You see? So this Constitution is over. It's under the 19th that we saw an executive president appoint an illegal prime minister and the Supreme Court ruled on it. And you want to bring this back? Really? Now we are trained in business and other places. When you make a change in difficult situations, you make a fundamental change, not cosmetic changes. We don't look at what exists to think of the future. In fact, they say what brought you here will not get you there. It will be stupid to say what failed you up to here is going to now resurrect you and take you. You see, it's absurd, isn't it? That's the kind of radical thinking we need to bring to really reflect the mood of the people and to alleviate the suffering of the masses of the people in this country who are going to face starvation. The experts won't face starvation. Are they represented? Now, take the Constitution, another aspect of the Constitution. I'm told, and I think it was Gamini Vijay Singh, the former Auditor General, who I respect a lot. We may not agree on some things, but on fundamentals, I'm with him. I think he said, and I knew, and I felt this, I've not actually scanned the Constitution. He said, in our Constitution, there's not a word about agriculture. And 30% of the working population are in agriculture in this country. Gamini says up to 50 in different ways and means. Now, how can that be? How can a constitution not protect the land in this country and the environment? That's why they plunder these resources. And you're surprised that you are not having rain and that you're not having food. So the constitution must protect the land first, because we are an agricultural economy. Yes, 7.2% of the GDP, some smart economists may argue. That's not the point. It employs between 30 to 50% of the people of this country. That's what we are concerned about. That's what the constitution will reflect. So, it's time to throw it out. Because a constitution, after all, is what? It gives a framework to the needs of the people of the country. Different segments of the people, not just the capitalist class or those who control the means, the resources of this country. Illegally sometimes. That's not the purpose of the constitution, is it? So, when you talk about experts, when you talk about agriculture, are we hearing the voices of our stakeholders, our people? If you're talking anything about farming, did they talk about consult the farmers when they spoke about organic fertilizer? Who are these experts who advised the president? This fisher folks. So there are experts from World Bank and all that who have never, agricultural experts, okay, they can give us a point of view, I'm not saying no, but they also need to hear the voice of the people who are on the ground. These experts have never stepped onto a paddy field, or got onto a boat and gone fishing, or ever plucked tea in the plantation, or ever worked in the Middle East, or in our factories. So, if you do not, that's why we need to start a process. I agree, it's a longer term thing. Now, in our school, we started a new way of looking at things. In our school, mind you, we wanted to talk of a strategic plan, because the children entering school today will only leave in 2035. We don't know what the world will look like. So, we put together a plan. Fundamental rule, the voice of the children must be heard. And they served on every single committee. Every single committee. We didn't think experts and old boys are going to do it. No. That's a fundamental principle we set about when we set this. And it took us a year to come to where we are. So, this is a country, not a school. But the fundamentals are the same. The voices of the people must be heard and reflected in the constitution. So, I ask you to think about this. Out with the executive presidents. Parliament is irrelevant. Let them figure out. We don't have all the answers. In a revolutionary situation, the answers develop from within. There is no formula for this, because most of the states have failed. So, somebody can say, oh Peter, I don't know, but I'm ready to sit down and talk about it. If you destroy these structures, you have to think of new structures, but not to be confined. And whatever we do, we must make sure we don't dilute the sovereignty of the people. Live to the true purpose of our constitution. Get the sovereignty, reflect the sovereignty of the people and their demands, and look beyond existing structures to think of a radical change. And we can pull this country out of this mess. This country has resources. It has smart people, very clever people, who really have the heart in the soul, which is our people. And if we get them together, I think we can build a better future. So I say, for those of you who believe in democracy and believe in our constitution, if you believe that sovereignty of the state lies in the people, join the protests. Join the protests. Let not these allegations of, this one is controlling, the other one is controlling, this sounds like a big match. No. Join the protest in whichever group you'd like to. Sustain true, direct democracy in this country. That's what you will be doing. You are not acting unconstitutionally. In fact, you are actually acting with true sovereignty. Get to the demonstrations. Make sure the executive president and the office of the executive president goes. Make sure Parliament as it's composed today becomes irrelevant, and make sure or ensure collectively we think of a new constitution and a new beginning for for the people of this wonderful country.